So we're assuming.
Right.
The world has witnessed numerous heinous crimes, and while many of these deeds were committed in the shadows, others were caught live on camera.
Body parts all over the New York metropolitan area.
So who is behind these bizarre deeds? I've got it all here for you. Today we'll be counting down the 20 most evil people that shocked the world live on camera. Some of these will make you question everything, so let's dive straight in. Number 1. Richard Kuklinski. Imagine killing 200 people and feeling no remorse. Well, that's Richard Kuklinski for you. Richard was an American serial killer, also known as the Iceman, who was convicted of 4 murders in 1988 and 4 of a 5th in 2003. However, Richard later revealed that he killed over 200 people in his killing years, and that too without the slightest inconvenience. But that's not even the craziest part. While in prison, Kuklinski was interviewed by a number of criminologists and psychiatrists, and it was his interviews that shocked the entire world. He spoke about his murders with chilling indifference. If you listen to any of his interviews, you'd know that this man didn't have a single bone of humanity in his body, which just makes him pure evil. He was an example of a smart, dangerous man who swore to commit bizarre acts throughout his life. Imagine how many more people would be dead if he was never caught. Number 2. John Wayne Gacy. Now, being indifferent to your crimes is one thing, but imagine going as far as to joke about them. Well, next up on our list is John Wayne Gacy, who is by far one of the most evil people to have walked on Earth. In his interviews, John often joked about committing the most heinous acts. Yeah, wait till you hear about the ways he tortured his victims. John took being a scary clown too far. Gacy used to target young men or boys by luring them through drugs, sex, or even jobs. He used to sit on his victim's chest, burn them with cigars, violate them with prescription bottles, drown them repeatedly, and the list just goes on and on. If any of his victims pleaded for death, he would prolong killing them and subject them to even more torture. He used his infamous rope trick to choke his victims and kill them. This wasn't some psychological disorder or disease. John was just pure evil. He killed more than 33 people, and some reports suggest the number goes up to 60. Number 3. David Burke. Many of us experience rage, and while most people deal with it by signing up for therapy or smashing a plate or two at most, what David Burke did shocked everyone. Burke was a US Air employee who got fired from his job after he was caught on CCTV stealing receipts worth $69 from in-flight cocktail sales. He pleaded with his boss Ray Thompson to be reinstated, but was refused. Little did Thompson know a single 2-letter word would cost him his life. On December 7, 1987, Burke boarded PSA Flight 1771, traveling from Los Angeles to San Francisco using a ticket gifted by his girlfriend, who was also a US Air employee. Mid-flight, Burke entered the cockpit and fatally shot Thompson and several crew members, including the pilots, leading the plane to crash. During the flight, Burke also wrote a note for Thompson that read, "Hi Ray, I think it's sort of ironical that we end up like this. I asked for some leniency for my family. Remember? Well, I got none, and you'll get none." Burke's vendetta against his former employer and supervisor spiraled out of control and cost the lives of 43 innocent people. Pure evil. Number 4. Elliot Roger. Let's be honest, we've all craved love at some point and cursed our doomed love lives. Well, Elliot's failure to find love led him to mass murder in Santa Barbara, California. The most bizarre part about all of this is the fact that he wrote a densely detailed 106,000-word, bone-chillingly precise manifesto outlining exactly whom he would kill and when. The 22-year-old man killed around 6 people near the University of California in Santa Barbara before dying of a gunshot to the head. Not only this, but Roger posted a series of videos on YouTube that mirrored his novel-length document almost word for word. He made a plan to massacre all happy-looking couples because of his hatred for the female population. Well, if only he was able to find true love, a lot of people would still be alive today. Number 5. Jodi Aras. While we're on the topic of love and couples, Jodi Aras took making your ex-boyfriend regret breaking up a little too far. In June 2008, Aras shot her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Travis Alexander, in the head before stabbing him nearly 30 times and slitting his throat. Jodi revealed that her boyfriend abused her physically and mentally, which led to the brutal murder. Aras testified on the witness stand for 19 days, detailing her sex life with Alexander in graphic detail, which made the trial make rounds on the internet. She's one of the most notorious killers, and there is even a film on her called The Jodi Aras Story. The jury could not agree on whether Aras should be sentenced to death or life in prison. She was later handed a natural life in prison. Most people draw the line at keying the car or slashing tires. Number 6, Christina Rigg. Just like Jodi, Christina had some bad blood with her spouse, but instead of killing him, she took her sweet revenge by killing her 2 children. Christina was an Arkansas nurse who killed her 2 children, Justin, 5 years old, and Shelby, 2 years old, in 1997. After brutally killing the children by giving them a fatal dose of potassium chloride, she tried taking her own life, but was unsuccessful. The most evil part about all this was Christina's little to no remorse during the trial. In fact, she even looked happy oftentimes. You must need a heart of stone to kill 2 of your own children, and that's why she makes our list. Number 7, John Batalia. Well, this next person on our list is just as twisted as Christina, if not more. John had 2 daughters with a woman he later divorced. It was his day to take care of the girls, and instead of spending quality time with his daughters, he killed them. He didn't even feel sorry for it, and the worst part? He shot them while their mom was on the phone. What a disgusting man. Before he was executed for killing his daughters, he was asked if he had any last words. Batalia said no, then added, "Well, hi Mary Jean," referring to his ex-wife and the mother of his murdered children who stood behind a glass pane watching the execution. Number 8, Amy Bishop. Amy Bishop, a university professor at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, was nothing less than a monster. In February 2010, during the course of a routine meeting of the biology department attended by approximately 12 individuals, Amy stood up and began shooting those closest to her with a 9mm handgun. There was nothing psychologically wrong with her, and she seemed normal on the day of the shooting. She even taught her anatomy and neurosciences classes. So what led to this mass shooting? Well, she had been denied tenure at the university, and she didn't take the news too well. As a result, 3 faculty members died, and 3 were injured. Saying no to evil people sure comes with a price. Not just that, about 24 years after this incident, it was revealed that Amy had also killed her younger brother by shooting at him. Number 9, Israel Keyes. Israel Keyes was one of the most methodical and chilling serial killers of recent times. He was caught on camera using his victim's debit card, but what the police found out next made him one of the most evil people. Now this man was a mix of everything evil. He was a killer, rapist, arsonist, burglar, and bank robber. Is there any crime he didn't commit? His planning involved stashing kill kits, which were containers filled with weapons, money, and tools across the country. In February 2012, he murdered 18-year-old Samantha Koenig and posed her body to appear alive to send a ransom note to her family. Keyes claimed to have killed more than 11 people, and he was ready to take the lives of many more. And when he couldn't find more people to kill, he took his own life and committed suicide in his jail cell. Number 10, Matthew Coleman. We all believe in conspiracy theories, don't we? Well, Matthew Coleman's delusional beliefs turned him into one of the most evil people on earth. This 40-year-old man from Santa Barbara took his 2-year-old toddler and 10-month-old baby on an outing to Mexico. Influenced by the QAnon conspiracy theory, Matthew believed that his children were possessed by serpent DNA. So what did he do? Well, he killed his children with a spearfishing gun and left their lifeless bodies in a field to save the world from them. He tried returning to the United States, but couldn't escape the murder of his children. He confessed to the killings with no remorse and revealed his bizarre and disturbing beliefs. He also stated that it was the right thing to do to protect humanity. Crazy or just pure evil? You make a guess. Number 11, Nathan Gail. Imagine catching a heinous crime on camera. Well, we've gone over numerous examples of that in this video. But imagine catching a heinous crime on hundreds of cameras. Yeah, that is exactly what happened when Nathan Gail decided to murder Darrell Abbott on stage at the Alrosa Villa nightclub in Columbus, Ohio. The 8th of December 2004 was one of the most shocking and tragic events in the history of rock music. Gail believed that the band Damage Plan was stealing his lyrics, so he jumped the stage at their show and killed the guitarist Darrell Abbott with a 9mm Beretta handgun. 3 others, Nathan Bray, a fan trying to help the victims, Erin Hawke, an Alrosa Villa employee, and Jeff Mayhem Thompson, Damage Plan's head of security, died in the crossfire while 7 others were injured. Gail was shot and killed by police officer James Niggemeyer, who responded quickly to the scene. Number 12, Chris Watts. This man is so evil that he has an entire Netflix documentary made on him. Chris Watts from Frederick, Colorado, murdered his pregnant wife, Shanann, and their 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste. Watts disposed of his family's bodies at an oil field owned by his employer, Anadarko Petroleum. He buried Shanann in a shallow grave and stuffed his daughters' bodies into oil tanks. He filed a missing persons report for his family and pretended to be a worried husband and father, begging for his family to come back, only for the police to find their lifeless bodies in an oil field. He later confessed to the murder in chilling interrogations. It was later discovered that he had an affair with one of his co-workers, Nicole Kessinger, and wanted to start a new life with her. All that in cost of his entire family? Pure evil, if you ask me. An interviewer described how his eyes would turn black when she spoke about the killings. He just would get a different look on his face, and he talked about it so nonchalantly, like going down to get a cup of coffee. Number 13, Mark Barton. Mark Barton was a 44-year-old man from Stockbridge, Georgia, who let financial failure drive him evil. Don't get it? This man started his killing spree by murdering his wife, Lee Ann, and his 2 children with a hammer. It was brutal, and it did not stop there. He then went to 2 Atlanta brokerage firms, All Tech Investment Group and Momentum Securities, where he had previously lost significant amounts of money in day trading. Barton opened fire at both locations and killed 9 people while wounding 13 others in a calculated and methodical manner. Mark was deeply in debt and believed he could relieve his family from the torment of his financial ruin by simply killing them. He was also full of rage and held grudges against the brokerage firms where he had lost his money. Before he could be caught by the police, Barton took his own life by shooting himself in the head. Number 14, Tommy Lynn Sells. The scariest part about this man is the way he talks about his heinous crimes. Tommy Lynn Sells was a notorious American serial killer responsible for a series of brutal murders across the United States. He murdered at least 22 people between 1980 and 1999. However, some reports suggest that this number was more than 70. Tommy was known for the brutality of his murders. He often used knives, bludgeoning instruments, and strangulation to torture his victims before taking their lives. When Tommy confessed to the murders, he sounded like he was happy about them, with no trace of remorse. Tommy described each and every murder in detail in chilling interrogations that made a buzz on the internet because of Sells' lack of compassion. Number 15, Jennifer San Marco. Jennifer San Marco was the true definition of evil. This 44-year-old woman from Goleta, California, was a former employee of the United States Postal Service that took holding grudges a tad bit too far. She was forcibly removed from her workplace in 2003 due to her disruptive behavior, and she didn't let that go unnoticed. In January 2006, San Marco entered the postal facility and opened fire, killing 6 people, including herself. That's not all. Before arriving at the postal office, she had already killed her neighbor, which made her the 7th victim. It was later revealed that Jennifer believed her co-workers conspired against her to get her fired, and it rubbed her the wrong way. Number 16, George Sodini. Being a loner is one thing, but being a loner and evil? That's where things start to go wrong. George Sodini, a 48-year-old man from Collier Township, Pennsylvania, resented women for not giving him attention. His longing for romantic relationships and deep-seated misogyny led him to open fire at an LA fitness center and kill every woman in sight. He opened fire at a Latin dance class and murdered 3 women while injuring 9. After the heinous act, he decided to turn the gun on himself and take his life. He had worked on the plan for days and left behind a website with a diary and a manifesto in which he wrote about his inability to form relationships with women. He was frustrated with the rejection, so he did what any person on this would have done: kill everyone in sight. Think twice before rejecting a man, ladies. Number 17. Susan Atkins. Susan Atkins was one of the most evil women on earth. Wait till you hear about her. Susan was a member of the Manson family, a cult led by Charles Manson, and she was involved in a series of brutal murders in 1969. She was a serial killer and would kill everyone she was ordered to without any hesitation. She used to walk down the street and hit every house there was, and by hit, I mean kill them, of course. She was directly involved in the murder of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant at the time. She killed 4 others present at Tate's home in Los Angeles and wrote "pig" on the front door in Tate's blood. She was also involved in the murders of Leno and Rosemary LaBianca in their home. During her trial, Atkins showed zero remorse and used to often taunt the families of the people she killed. You can see the evil in her eyes. If I ever see someone like Susan knocking on my door, I'm keeping it locked. Number 18. Andrew Kehoe. The time the devil himself paid a visit to Michigan. Andrew Kehoe is the name behind one of the deadliest school massacres in the history of the United States. Kehoe served as the treasurer for the Bath Consolidated School District in Michigan. Kehoe's wife was suffering from tuberculosis, and he was experiencing financial difficulties for which he blamed the school board and the community for rising property taxes. So, Kehoe decided to get the school back and spent months preparing for the attack. He secretly planted explosives in the Bath Consolidated School and on his farm, using dynamite and pyritol, a World War I-era explosive, to rig the buildings. On May 18, 1927, Kehoe began his atrocities by first killing his wife and setting their farm on fire. That was only the start of what was about to come. He then attacked the school and detonated the explosives he had planted. The blast caused the school building to collapse and took out 38 elementary school children and 6 adults. There were several injuries, and it was truly a dark day in history. He ended the massacre by killing the superintendent and then himself by setting up explosives in his truck. The Bath school disaster resulted in the deaths of 45 people, including 38 children. Number 19. Joel Rifkin. Imagine you're a cop and you pull over a car for a missing license plate only to catch the most notorious serial killer. Joel Rifkin was an active serial killer in New York in the 1980s. He murdered at least 17 women during his killing years, and the way he was caught was very interesting. He did not have any clues on him or a trace of any blood. Police pulled him over for not having a license plate and found the body of the most recent victim in his trunk. Fortunately, the car he was driving did not have a license plate, because imagine how many more people he could have killed. The way he killed his victims was also bizarre. He used to strangle them and then dismember their bodies to get rid of any evidence. He then dumped the body parts in secluded landfills. If you look at any of his interviews, you'll know in a heartbeat that this guy is messed up in the head. Number 20. John Hughes. John Hughes, a 39-year-old trucker from Springfield, was nothing but pure evil. He was convicted of murder for killing a woman, Valentine Kirilchuk, at a trucker shop, but that was surely not the only murder he had committed. John was only convicted for that one lady, but he later confessed to killing many more and even bragged about the murders. He also said he would kill again in a heartbeat if he could, and it was super evil. He was given a life sentence in prison. Yeah, saw that coming from a mile away. So that's all I have for you today. Did you find any of these people evil and bizarre? Make sure to let us know in the comments. Goodbye, I'll see you in the next one.